Layer that 6 on top of the 9 and feed those shorter ends through the middle.
So, what is a knot? A fastening made by tying a piece of string, rope, or something similar. But can I put my heart back together? No, not really. But I could do this. And that is kind of cool. Today, we're going to unravel the lore behind the hobby of knotting and the mysteries behind these wholesome creations. So, let's get started.
Some 13.7 billion years ago.
Okay? Maybe not that long ago. The exact origins of knot technology are difficult to pinpoint with specific dates. I even tried to ask AI, and I didn't even know. Some scientists speculate and even debate to this very day that animals like the monkey were the first to make knots. However, knots require a level of cognitive and manual dexterity that is unique to humans. Now, you might be wondering, when did humans make knots then? Okay, smart pee pee poo poo pants. Archaeologists found human-made fragments of ropes and knots from 15 to 17,000 years ago, meaning knot technology is much older than the invention of the wheel or the axe. One important knot finding is from the Inca Empire that flourished within the Andean region of South America. They use an intricate knotted textile system called quipu, which literally translates to knot in Quechua, their native language. The system was used for mathematical and account records in the decimal system. For example, it was used to collect census data and created one of the first renditions of the modern calendar. Today, knots are still used for many of the same purposes, from sailing to farming and even decorations. Knots are easy to overlook, but they are the fundamental basis of many widespread technologies in our modern world. Fade into black. Enough about history. I think it's time to make our first knot. Knots require two things. 1, your hands, and 2, some rope. Optionally, you might need a sharp tool to cut through the rope, and a sturdy object to tie your rope onto. With these tools at your disposal, you can make almost every knot imaginable, like booby knot, beer knot, water knot, lover's knot, thief's knot, bowling, figure eight, clove hitch, monkey's fist. But that's a lot of knots. So we're gonna go over the top 5 must-know knots that are easy to learn and applicable to a variety of areas. The square knot, also known as the reef knot, is a binding knot, used in sailing, medical, and around the home. It is used to join two ends of a line around an object. This is a knot that is known to capsize boats quicker than a toddler at the helm playing Pirates of the Caribbean. With quotes saying there have probably been more lives lost as a result of using a square knot as a bend to tie 2 ropes together than from a failure of any other half-dozen knots combined. ABOK, page 258. Anywho, to make this knot, take 2 rope ends. Put the left over the right. Wrap it around. Take the right rope end and put it over the left, and wrap it around once more. Pull both ends of the rope in opposite directions to tighten the knot. The finished knot should have 2 loops that interlock and lie flat against each other. One mistake often made when tying this knot is laying the right end over the left, which will result in a granny knot, a much worse knot than the square knot, since it can untie itself with little force. The sheep bend is a joining knot, used in boating, camping, and climbing. It is often used to join 2 ropes or lines of different diameters together, and it is considered a reliable and secure knot for this purpose. Begin by laying the 2 ropes you want to join side by side. Make a loop with the left rope, called a bight. Feed the right rope through the bight from behind. Wrap it around the bight. Pass the right end through the same piece of rope. Tighten the knot by pulling both ropes in opposite directions, adjusting the knot as needed. And there you have it, you tied your very first sheep end. The bowline, a loop knot, used in sailing, camping, and even rescue operations. It is used to create a fixed loop at the end of your line. To make this knot, wrap your rope around a secure object. I am using my monitor stand for this tutorial. Form a small loop in the left rope. Next, you want to make a small bight and push it through the loop you just formed. Take the end of the right rope and drop it down through the bight. Pinch it back on itself. Grab the bottom rope and pull it backwards. congratulations, you've just formed the most famous knot in the world, the bowline. The clove hitch, a simple knot to attach a rope to a pole or ring, used in sailing, climbing, and construction. It is often used in combination with other knots, like the bowline and the timber hitch. To make the clove hitch, take your rope and loop it once over your object. Cross it, and keep another loop going on the other end. Take your working end and slide it up and parallel to the other loop. Then pull it tight. The taut line hitch, an adjustable loop, used in sailing, camping, and arborists when climbing trees. Its primary function is to adjust tension on a line. To make this knot, bring the rope around the object you're tying to. Take your free end and pass it over the standing part of the rope to create a loop. Next, take the end of the rope you're working with and wrap it around the left side of the loop twice. Then, take the end of the rope and place it over the standing part to create another loop. Run the end of the rope underneath the standing end and back up through the loop. Tighten the knot by pulling on the free end of the rope and adjusting as needed. You can adjust this knot by pulling on the top rope to pull it down, and to push it back up, all you have to do is hold on to the knot and pull it up. Some knots are not so innocent. They started out as a handy tool, and some ended up being a deadly weapon. The monkey fist knot, shaped like a ball. It is used to provide a weight at the end of a heaving line. But why exactly is it illegal? Back in ye old days, sailors sailed off, got paid, and stopped at seaports for bars and brothels, where they were often targets for street thugs and pirates. To defend themselves, sailors tied a smaller version of the monkey's fist with a lightweight rope and a weighted object, then would splice the end of the rope and form a wrist lanyard, otherwise known as a slungshot. Even Abraham Lincoln had his fair share of slungshots. He defended a man named William Duff, who was charged with an unalived trial of James Preston Metzger by striking him in the back of the head with a slugshot. Due to the dangerous nature of slugshots and how many people have been unalived by it, the use of the monkey's fist has been deemed illegal, and were prohibited in many areas, like Germany, the United States, and Australia. If you're going to make one and carry it, be aware of your local laws and don't do anything too stupid. Knot theory, a branch of mathematics that studies the properties and classification of knots. What makes this knot different from the ones we've already seen? Let's look at the definition. A mathematical knot can have no loose ends. The string can have crossings and intertwinings, but there cannot be any break. It must be one continuous loop. To make a mathematical knot, let's go back and see the square knot we made. Imagine taking our two loose ends and fusing them together. We are left with a continuous loop of string that is entangled in the middle. Your very own mathematical knot. Let's say you and I both tie a knot. Are they the same? Knot theory provides a set of tools and techniques we can use to determine what two knots are equal. We can look at a well-known tool in knot theory called the knot invariant. It is a unique identifier for a knot that does not change no matter how much you twist, stretch, or bend the knot. Other tools include counting how many crossings a given knot has, that is, how many times a string passes over or under itself. Knots can look really complicated, but can be broken down into their most simplified form. An important note is that the more crossings we add to a knot, the harder this gets. For example, if we have 10 crossings, there are 165 completely different and unique knots that cannot be simplified any further. Luckily, scientists created a way to track unique or prime knots, which is called composite knots. And these large composite knots can be broken down into their knot prime equivalents, similar to how we break large numbers down into their prime numbers. These tools are not a one-size-fits-all type of problem. The more complex knots get, we need to switch to more advanced tools and make use of modern technology to help it solve it for us. This is kinda cool, but why on earth did people start thinking about knots? While it may seem like a natural curiosity to compare if two knots are the same and if they are equal, however, the study of knots and the knot theory actually provides fundamental tools and insights into surfaces and their properties. Knot theory might look underwhelming at first, but as you dive deeper in it, it plays an important role to discovering more of our unknown universe. You snorted the naughty line. Now you're aiming for more. To go beyond our elementary knowledge, there's a few ways to do this. One such way is by consulting an older book on knots that was so revolutionary it was known as the Holy Grail of knot knowledge. I have mentioned it before in this video by its abbreviation, ABOK, otherwise known as Ashley Book of Knots by Clifford Warren Ashley. First published in 1944, it was a culmination of over 11 years of work, 4,000 knots, and 7,000 illustrations. Even till this day, the knot community recommends this book to newcomers and remains one of the most comprehensive books on knots. Just as a disclaimer, I'm not sponsored to promote this book. You can be a pirate and find the PDFs online, cough cough wink wink. There's also tons of other books online that are about knots that are even better. Next up, knot competitions. There's not too many competitions though. Most of them are run by scouts and local schools. But one sticks out for me, one of the most fierce and deadly competitions, the 6-knot challenge. Originally founded by International Guild of Knot Tiers, this challenge involves tying 6 knots against the clock. The current world record is 8.1 seconds, held by Clinton R. Bailey back in 1977. The formal rules to govern this competition I found on a 2012 forum page by the user Ken Y. Here are the rules. The clock starts when the competitor first touches the ends of the rope with their hands. The knots may be tied in any sequence, but must be fully formed before moving on to the next. When dropped, the knot must retain its shape, even if loose. The clock is stopped when the last knot is fully formed. It is not needed to be dropped and can be in hand. Let's see this challenge in action. The Southern Ontario Knot Tiers is one of the only organizations to record their 6-knot challenge, and it had formidable foes like Drake and Natalie. The final boss is Natalie though, doing this challenge while blindfolded, with a time of 14 seconds flat. Knot tying is not at all what I expected when I was first introduced to this hobby, but I loved it anyway. It was the ultimate journey that was equal parts challenging and practical. It was the kind of hobby that everybody should learn. It not only brings new ideas to the table, but executes it with precision. Even if you think there couldn't be new knots to learn, there's always a surprise around the corner with new innovations every day. So go out there and let's make some knots.